to create change in corporate America to be more diverse. But let me give her a proper introduction. We don't bring anybody on the Dr. Don radio show raggedy any kind of way. We don't make you sit on the plastic on the couch like grandma used to. We have to give her a proper introduction. She is Shantera L. Chatman, MBA. She is an author, a speaker. She is a global culture strategist, and she's going to tell us what that is. And she is also president of PowHer. That's PowHer Consulting. Let's welcome back to the Dr. Don radio show, Shantera. How are you, Shantera?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, girl?
Really good. Thank you for having me on.
Hey,
Again.
last time it was by phone. This time we said we got to let the people see her beautiful face and her beautiful artwork in the background. Always representing women, right?
Always.
Girl power.
Always. Power.
Girl power, honey. And I am excited to have this conversation because it is, as we know, National Black Business Month, right?
Right.
But the truth is, some of us are employee-newers. We work a 9 to 5, and then we have our side hustle, right? Everybody has not been called to full-time entrepreneurship, or they're building their business so they can be a full-time entrepreneur, or they have been called to work in corporate, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So we're going to talk about that, and that's why I think it's important. You're an entrepreneur, but Shantera, you had a walk, honey. They should make a movie about kind of what you dealt with, right? But it's real talk. It's real talk. But first, we have to tell us out the gate. Tell us a little bit about your company, what you do. What is a global culture strategist? Because that's not what you were before. What was it? And you turned it up a notch and say, wait, I do more than this. We're going to have to change the title.
So PowHer Consulting. It's a boutique consulting firm. So we help our clients. Build strong cultures.
Okay.
And we do that with strategic planning and some immersive learning and development. And we do, diversity, equity, and inclusion training and consulting, some coaching and things of that nature. And we'd like to say that we help to bridge cultural gaps.
Okay.
And the global culture strategist, comes into play because, again, we are helping our clients to strategize and try to figure out, what's going to work best for their teams.
Okay.
And globally, because all of my clients are not in America. They're not here. I've worked with clients, in different places. Some of my clients, I have clients like UNICEF. So I've worked where I am working and doing a lot of things, of course, via Zoom, because some of them are in 18 countries at a time. Sometimes I'm doing things in other places. And so we are all over the place trying to figure out how are we going to kind of bridge all of these gaps when the team is all over the place and we may be fighting against each other, and the boss is in New York, so they're trying to manage everybody like they're all in America, and they're not. So it really is about trying to figure out how to kind of transform this team and trying to figure out the best way to make a team work properly. And how to build a culture that's going to work for everyone. And depending on what I'm working with, and what I'm doing, that depends on what how I make that, how I make it fit, and how I train them and how I coach the leaders and how I coach the teams and things of that nature. So I had to step it up a little bit, and the title did change from
and amen to that, right? But that you could global, right? Not national. But what was it before? It was global culture consultant. It was something like that.
It was just kind of a culture consultant.
Yeah. But I mean, you hit it on the head, though, right? You said it's pleasing for everybody, but the truth is, you're not going to please everybody.
No.
The truth is, but you have to open your eyes, corporate America and company, and you have to say something's not right. You have to say, why are these Black employees complaining? What's the big deal? You have to open your eyes that we're different. You're going to have different people, different races, different cultures. So you're going to have to embrace it. You're going to have to get on board with it. And I'm glad that we're no longer just sitting on the background saying, hey, it's okay. No, it's not okay.
Yeah, the workforce is being more vocal.
That's
They're
right.
being more vocal now. People are
As
talking, and people are walking away too.
and they're losing good people, and then they're like, what's going on? You know what I mean? And so we're going to get deep into this conversation because it's important. Now, first we have to hear about your experience in corporate America and what led you to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a consultant. I've been a consultant my entire career,
Hmm.
but working in house, working for different companies. 13 years as a consultant, working for NASA. 6 years in the oil and gas industry, all in Texas. But and I would say I'd had a career. I've had a career that's had some ups and downs.
Hmm.
So definitely some valleys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've learned a lot. I mean, on one hand, my career taught me how to be a professional, taught me how to show up, taught
Yeah.
me, what I wanted to be and how to be intentional about walking in a room and owning who I was, right? But on the other side of that, it also taught me what discrimination looks like firsthand. It taught
Mm.
me what a microaggression was and how it's not really so micro.
Yeah.
It's definitely more aggression and it's in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't care.
And you don't have anyone there to help you a lot of times.
Yeah.
And
Even if they
you,
look like you.
even if they look like you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're on your own, and so I
Yeah.
had to learn very early on how I needed to be and how I had to have my own back. And so,
Mm.
and it was very hard, and really understanding that, the word ally really didn't mean anything
Oh yeah. Yeah.
in corporate America, and it probably still doesn't mean anything now. And that's why I use that. I go out and try to teach, really what ally mean, even though a lot of people throw that word around now and still don't understand and it doesn't really have a strong definition. People just put it out there, hashtag ally, and you don't know what that is.
Or
So
that, this handbook has been passed down from 1952. You know what
right,
I mean? And nobody bothered to update it because, hey, if nobody's saying anything, let's just keep it. Okay, well,
right,
yeah.
exactly. And so
Yeah.
all of that was, and so in my time in corporate America, there was, everybody was, saying, well, Shantera, you have to understand, they're not used to working with people like you.
Mm,
I was being told that in 99, in 1999, in
wow.
2000. My tires were being slashed in 2002. So
Mm,
those kind of things were happening
wow.
in Houston. And so that's what my corporate America experience was, and trying to figure out how to navigate that and still stay because I've
Mm.
still needed experience.
So, was this in the beginning of your career?
Mhm.
Or did this, because you were in corporate America for how long?
I was in corporate America. I stayed in corporate America for almost 20 years.
So it didn't stop year two. It happened from year one. Would you say to year 20?
It happened. I would say it started. Yeah, definitely started probably around
Okay.
year three, when I started to formulate a voice.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Everybody's fine when you're quiet and meek,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
when you
yeah.
start to speak up and have an opinion about something. So around year two, year three is when things started to change for me, and
Okay.
then slowly but surely things just
Mm.
started to increase, and then it just definitely kept going.
So the more vocal you became, and
Hmm.
vocal is not a bad word, right?
No,
So
no,
the more,
absolutely not.
yeah.
The
So
the
the
more I became had an opinion, or the more I wanted something different for me than maybe my bosses felt like I should have, the
mm,
more I wanted to ask questions about my salary, or ask why I didn't get the promotion or get the assignment that I felt like I should have. And not
yeah.
saying that I was being rude, just asking the question.
And they don't. Some of them don't want to be questioned, right?
Exactly.
But we're gonna get into that. But let's go back, right?
Okay.
So for 20 years, would you say that you dealt with the discrimination, the haterism, the slash tires?
Yeah, I did. And,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, even after the slash tires, I stayed in that position working as a consultant for NASA for 8 more years. And looking back on it now, I wouldn't now,
Wow.
but I felt like I was trying to prove that you're not going to run me out of there, and
Yeah.
But knowing what I know about self-care and knowing what I know about what that did to me, and how I had to change who I was just to the armor I had to put on myself to stay
Mm,
there, I wouldn't have stayed now.
yeah.
But then I did stay. Um, and so, yeah, there was a lot of things that, now I probably wouldn't have done then. But yeah, absolutely.
Now, what do you mean that you wouldn't have done?
I wouldn't have, I definitely wouldn't have stayed the 8 years.
Okay.
I definitely wouldn't have, uh, allowed myself to change. I changed personalities.
Mm,
I allowed myself to be a different person just to be at that job and to deal with the personalities that I had to deal with because I worked in definitely a male dominated space.
white dominated?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, were you at two different companies, three different companies, or one for 20 years?
I was at two different consulting firms.
Okay.
And for 13 years, I was working as a consultant for the Johnson Space Center.
Okay. Okay.
And there, I kind of bounced through that community in different
Mm,
places throughout that community. Johnson Space Center, you could be working in different departments around there for a while, but different types of people, kind of same personalities, and sometimes, but different organizations there.
mm. So, can you say the name of the other companies if you're comfortable with?
Oh, and then when I left the Johnson Space Center, and I was working for Booz Allen Hamilton at the consulting firm there, and went on to work for North Highland Consulting Firm.
Okay.
And then I worked in the oil and gas industry, so we had several clients there. So there was like Chevron and Shell and different. So those were just different oil and gas companies that we worked for there.
So when you're talking about, and when you say Johnson Space Center, right? I'm thinking of the movie Hidden Figures, right? So basically, when you see the movie, you're like, nothing's changed. Like, with I mean, this movie was based on their life back then, but technically, we still there. You know what I mean?
There were definitely a lot of things that I still was relating to as I was watching the movie. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me.
But we're not talking about from 1950. We're talking about 2002 or wherever the tires were
Yeah.
slashed. It wasn't at NASA, but still, you dealt with it at NASA, right?
Oh, it was
Or
on the
Johnson
campus.
Space Center.
It was on the campus. It was on NASA campus.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
was at Johnson Space Center.
and so still NASA. We have work to do.
Yeah.
Last liftoff. You need to be. We have some other things to do too.
Yeah.
So lift off on that. We calling
Yeah.
that out.
It was
But
unfortunate. It was definitely unfortunate that there was nothing happened, and everyone knew the next day. Because I did go and, I did what I thought I was supposed to do, which
which
was
was what? Did you
tell.
complain? Did
Oh,
you go to human
absolutely.
resources?
I did, I went to human resources and legal at my consulting firm,
Hmm.
and I went to the people that I worked with at the job site too,
Mm,
because I worked technically my actual office was at the Space Center site.
okay.
But
Oh wow.
and that's where they were the ones that told me what happened. And they were the ones who were like, well, the white men here feel like your car was too nice.
Oh wow.
So it happened by, NASA contractors. It
Mm.
wasn't the consulting firm that did it. It was the people that I worked with. And so they felt like my car was too nice. So,
Same Hidden Figures
oh yeah, it was
2022. So you're basically you dealing, you having to go to the
20
bathroom in
years
the other
ago.
building. Right?
No, I did not have to go to the
I
restroom.
mean, come on. I mean, but watching the movie, I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's very sad.
it was definitely
And they
something
were okay
very.
with saying they thought your car was too nice.
Mhm.
You'll just have to deal with it or drive an older car
Yeah, yeah.
to
It
make
was
them feel better
suggested
about
that it
themselves
was suggested that I got a different car to drive to work.
because they want the problem to go away.
Yes.
Right. So what did you do?
I went and got new tires, and I
Mm,
took my car back. I drove my car. My
mhm.
husband was active duty at the time, and
Okay.
so I talked to him about it. I called him because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know the tires were slashed,
Wow.
because I worked for the Japanese program at that time, so I was working at night. So it was that bad. It was at night when I came out and saw.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really know what was going on until I took the tires to get looked at the next
Mm,
day. And it was razor blades that were put in my tires. And so
Wow.
once we realized what was going on, I called my husband, we did the whole thing. And he was like, no, go get new tires. Because that's what he told me, like, go get new tires. And so I just kind of told the lady, because they sent someone to tell me the story.
Mm.
They sent the town crier is what I called her. She's the
Yeah.
gossiper. And I just told her that it wasn't going to happen the way they thought it was, that I wasn't getting a new car, that the
Mm.
story wasn't going to be what they thought, which was poor Black woman was getting, gonna have to get a new car and the whole nine. I said, that's not going to be the headline, lady. I
No.
was like, go tell them what the headline's going to be. I'm going to tell you the headline. I said, the headline's going to be, because this was after September 11th. The
Ah,
country,
okay.
the country was so patriotic at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I said, so let me tell you what the headline's going to be. The headline's going to be, military wife gets harassed at NASA. I said, dude, is that the headline that you guys want? I said,
Yeah.
'cause that's going to be the headline. They're not going to care that you guys are racist and that you guys don't like my car. They're going to
Yeah.
care that there's an active duty soldier that's fighting for this country that's deployed, and you just harassed his wife on a NASA property.
On a government.
Yeah.
Uh, so what was their response?
Oh, I was not touched. No one ever said a thing to me ever again.
Mm.
And but I, for the longest time, thought something was going to happen. So, it was a thing.
Then we moved to another company, same thing, pretty much.
Another company, same, kind of the same story. It became a thing all over again, but it was
Mm.
a lot more in your face. They were very clear.
Mm.
It was very just straightforward. Vice president came right to me and said, we're not going to be able to market you to any client. No one wants to work with Black people. They want to work with people that look like them.
Wow. So why hire me? To meet a quota? So we're going to keep you in this office to keep making money just to make us look good, but we're not really going to give you any work. Is that what it is? Any work that's going to take you higher? We just need you to meet this quota.
I guess that's what she thought was going to happen. So,
Mm.
yeah, so
I
I wasn't there, but like that was after year 3.
Wow.
And it was interesting because that was after a NASA client found out I was working there and asked for me to come do work. It was so crazy. Even though I was in
Wow.
oil and gas work, NASA found out I was working there and they wanted me for some work. And
Wow.
they didn't want to give it to me. It was the oddest thing. And I thought, wow. But it took me no time to leave there.
Mm.
I'd learned my lesson. I wasn't staying 13 years at that
Wow.
company.
But question. So where did you go to college?
Texas A&M.
Okay.
I'm an Aggie, so hey, I
Weren't you, but did you really, okay, what was your experience at A&M as a Black graduate of A&M?
um my experience at Texas A&M was very similar to my experience at NASA.
So I guess what I'm saying is, are you surprised?
Um,
Were you surprised when you dealt with that same mentality at A&M? And I know a few Blacks who
I was
graduated A&M, right?
I wasn't surprised,
Okay.
from the standpoint of like, oh my God, this is how people behave.
Yeah.
I still didn't feel like I was prepared. You know what I
Ah,
mean?
okay.
Because it was a different type. Like I felt like the stakes were higher, because it's one
Mm,
thing to deal with that sort of thing in college. It's another when it's your job.
yeah.
And it's okay, this is a career. I have to figure out how to navigate this in a way that I can still walk away, and if I need to walk away, get another job. There was another thing going on for me.
Yeah.
My mind was set on trying to ensure that I could get another job in the next place.
And then also the thing is, you may have thought, oh my gosh, well they'll be more mature. This is corporate. This is a company. This is yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
it
too.
yeah, it doesn't matter whether you graduate HBCU, traditional, honey. If as long as you got the color skin, sometimes some people are so close minded,
Possibly. Yeah, yeah,
right?
that could have been it too. I guess, and when I think about it now,
Hmm.
I feel like, God always knows what he's doing,
Oh
because when
yeah.
I decided to, A&M wasn't on my list to want to go. It was there, but it wasn't the place that I thought I would be at,
Okay.
and I always said that it was a financial decision. I
Okay.
got the most scholarships to go to
Okay.
Texas A&M.
And isn't it interesting? We give you scholarships, but we're just again, people, and I've interviewed people before, Shantera. Because I'm a member of the Houston HBCU Alumni Association.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we talk about, since we're having candid conversation, there's nothing wrong with African Americans going to the traditional, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you think that's going to give you a leg up. If you go for the wrong reasons, right? Or you think they'll accept me or what have you, sometimes they won't. Or you think you're one of them. No, it's just, you have to be mindful, and not that you can't go wherever you want to go to school, but people of color, just understand, just because they give you a scholarship doesn't mean they're going to love you. They have a quota to meet.
Well,
Uh,
I don't go anywhere for anybody to love me. So that
Right.
definitely wasn't the
But some people
decision.
do. They're like, oh, they gave me money. They really think, no, boo, you playing
Nah,
football for them.
no,
You
no,
break
no.
your leg, they can care
Um,
less about you.
No,
Uh,
either any of the schools that I was going to go to was going to be a financial decision,
yeah.
because I needed to go where I was going to have the most money to attend, because I didn't come from an affluent family. I needed to make sure it could be paid for, and quite frankly, for me, HBCUs were not giving me money, and so my list would look like Rice,
Hmm.
Texas A&M, and Spelman, and
Yeah.
Spelman was giving no money,
Mm.
and Rice waitlisted me.
Hmm.
Shame on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Texas A&M, I got cash thrown at me from alumni from everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I didn't understand that because I didn't know enough about A&M and their alumni, program. So I was getting calls from alumni
Oh,
saying, if
wow.
you accept, we're going to give you $40,000. If you accept, we're going to give you this and this. And I was like, well, I'm accepting because y'all giving
Absolutely.
cash over cash over cash, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And and they're nationally ranked in engineering, and that's what I was going to school for, engineering.
Yeah.
I later switched to college of business, but they're nationally ranked in college of business as well, so it
Yeah.
was like a win either way. So for me, academically, it was still a outstanding decision for me. And like I said, I feel like God knew what He was doing, because it prepared me that way. All of the issues that Texas A&M had, I still felt like there was a preparation for where I was supposed to go, because what I had to deal with at NASA, and what I had to deal with at North Highland, and all of these things, it's
Okay.
allowed me to
Yeah.
be able to be ready for what I'm doing now at PowHer Consulting, and
Yeah.
all of the clients that I'm having to step into and help. There's really not too many situations that clients can throw at me that I haven't kind of had some type of
Gotcha.
interaction with. So
And look, I say that because then that was a wise financial decision. That's what you do, right?
yeah,
But
I mean,
some
hey,
of
I have to think
us
it through.
don't. Some of us, oh, they really like me. No,
Yeah,
they really
don't do
don't.
that.
You're not one of them, and
Don't do
you're gonna
that.
get a wake up call one day. And not that we don't love everybody, and God doesn't. God does love everybody, but you still have those friends who are your counterparts, and you'll see jealousy. Well, how did they get the valedictorian? How did they? I mean,
And that's everywhere, though.
yeah.
That's
So
everywhere. And if you're going somewhere to please any group of people,
that's right.
you're gonna be sadly mistaken. You have to go to please you, and please, please whatever what's in your heart.
Yeah.
It's not about the outside world, and
Yeah.
that's where I think we have to make sure that we're making these decisions, even with our careers.
Oh,
You know
yes.
that way.
Absolutely.
So
But I just think we need sometimes, even myself, don't get everybody's not going to love me when I have this conversation. Some people non-black may not like it. That's fine. I'm not here for that, right? Even some black people might not like what I have to
yep.
say. Okay, right? But I just say what I have, conversations that are real, um, and there's no discrimination here. It's just we have to understand that some people still have those views about
Oh,
us.
absolutely. Well,
So we
that's why I'm in the job that I have, right? Because
yeah.
if we didn't have if there were not people that did not that don't have those views, we wouldn't even need folks like me, and we out here doing the work that we're doing.
So let's talk about it. You've been in corporate for 20 years. That did pave the way for doing what you are doing right now.
Yes.
And the thing is, Shantera, now, and some of us, God calls to be that Harriet Tubman, to be the Martin Luther King. Some of us, God is saying, Shantera, go start a firm and help them so they see the light. What was it for you that God didn't say you need to stay here and fight for those behind you, and you knew you were called to leave?
Well, and honestly, that's what I was thinking when I stayed.
Hmm.
When I was saying when the tires were slashed, I thought I was supposed to stay and fight the
Yeah,
good fight. And then I realized, no, I think I'm supposed to be learning something.
yeah,
I'm supposed to learn
gotcha.
how to fix this.
Okay.
And and after I knew how and I knew what was missing,
Hmm.
that's when I felt like I needed to step out and try to figure out, what that looks like to try to teach or try to work with clients to do something different, to do something in a new way.
Yeah,
And so it was oddly enough, it was through my women's foundation, you've worked with me with the Chapman
yeah,
Women's
yeah, yeah.
Foundation, that I met a friend, Candace Cole, who said, "Hey, I help write curriculums." That's what she called me one day. I don't even know this lady. She said, "Hey, if you ever need some help with anything, I'll volunteer through your foundation." And we just always would talk. She was in Chicago.
That's awesome.
I never met this woman before in my life, but one day I
Wow.
called her when I decided to step away to start this business, and I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, do you still do curriculum writing? Because I have this idea about allyship."
Okay.
And I said, I feel like I want to write this little micro book, but I want to transform it into some type of curriculum for either colleges and or corporate America to
Okay.
teach about how to be a real ally, but use my experiences from corporate America, what I didn't have. I
Wow.
want to be like, what does it feel like to not have one?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how can you do better?
Yeah.
And so she was like, yeah, I feel like I think I could help you with that. And she was like, and I can do you one better. I've moved to Houston. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
and so
Okay. Thank you. Hello,
yeah.
God.
And
Yeah.
so she and I work together to build this immersive thing where we kind of put you in the situation. So
Yeah.
all of these situations that I talk about that happened to me, we started to create scenarios
That's
and
good.
put clients in it and make them feel what I felt
Yeah.
without telling them it was me. So when they start to talk about, oh, that never happens, then I can start to say, oh, really? It
Yeah,
never
I did.
happens? you know?
Wow.
And then I can reveal to them after the fact. But get them in it, get them so emotionally drenched in
Yes.
situations, and
Th-
then pull them, back after and start to help them to realize this was just 2 years ago or this was just 5 years ago. So yeah, it's happening. So how do you fix this toxicity that's
Yeah.
in a corporate America? And that's how I started to build on PowHer Consulting and started to do that. Um,
I think we have to it's I you have to pull out that emotion. And I
yeah,
think George Floyd and I said this before we got on the interview. George Floyd, there were people who were non-black who didn't realize, when the Rodney King and other situations happened, it was like, oh well, but with George Floyd, for whatever reason, everybody was like, even white people were like, this is wrong. Some who were close-minded or the Karens, right? They finally woke up and were like, this is not right. He had his knee on his neck. So you saw the nation come together to say, this isn't right. White, black, Latino, this is wrong. And look, I'm not just saying to George Floyd, but any race, it's wrong.
yeah,
And we need to understand it's a lot has to do with all of these poverty and all of that, but the nation came together and it got emotion out of people. So you have to do that in your training, right?
yeah. And so that's what I
Yeah.
tell people. I get you, I take you to the right to the edge, to right on the edge to the tip, and right before you jump, I
Wow.
pull you back.
Because they have to the thing is, it's really hard to make somebody who's not in your color skin see things from your perspective.
Right. And so you got to get them there. You
Right.
have to make them feel how you felt or as close to it as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And to your point about George Floyd,
Yeah.
it I got a lot of calls after
Wow.
after that because
Yeah.
teams started to fall apart.
Yeah.
teams, because people were feeling some kind of way. Of course, the pandemic was happening too. So
Yes.
everyone was in their feelings in one way or another. And
Mm,
a lot of Black team members didn't want to talk.
mm.
A lot of white team members didn't know how to talk.
Yeah.
They felt shame, they felt guilt, and everyone in between were just like, leave it alone. And so
Yeah.
teams were falling apart, and
Mm.
leaders were like, can you help me? I don't know what to do.
But at least they asked.
Yeah, at least they asked. And so I felt like, okay, this is an opportunity to start trying to get these teams to talk. And it's going to be painful. And I would tell the leaders, it's going to be hard for you because you're about to
Yeah.
hear some stuff.
But at least because you have and even though your white coworkers are not Derek and they don't have those views that this officer had, it was, I mean, it was that,
Oh, yeah.
and it's emotional. And if people aren't able to talk about it in a healthy environment, or then you have to be careful, because if you have those conversations at the water cooler, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It can get
You
ugly.
can't. Yeah, you
So,
absolutely cannot. You have
yeah,
to have the right people the right people who are trained to have those
absolutely.
conversations. You can't just go sit down and say, "Oh, tell me what you're thinking," or "Tell me
Yeah,
how you feel,"
yeah,
because they
yeah,
just might tell you what they're thinking, and they just might tell you how they feel, and
yeah.
you're not ready for it.
Yeah. Or like George shouldn't have been doing what he was doing if he wasn't, and it's like, what? We go to lunch together every day, and you think, and then if you don't have someone there moderating it, then it can get ugly.
Yep.
So absolutely, you need someone who can do that. I think that's great. Now, Shantera, we have to, because the thing about it is, you know, and we'll talk in a minute about the financial contributions that many companies made. Have they kept their commitment? Or let's just talk about it now. Have you found they have kept their commitment? How do we hold them accountable
No,
to see if they have not? So they have not. You have not, in what you've researched. They have not.
no. No, I think what it was less than 40% of the companies kept
Mm,
their commitment. Um, I kept saying it even when they were pledging online that
ah,
most of it was performative.
ah.
It was performative just for social media, just for the sake of saying that they were going to do it. None of them ever intended to do
Mm,
anything. They just wanted to look like they were woke
mm.
online, and that's what we have to be
Wow.
careful of, is that when people put things on social media, just like regular folks, they don't really mean it. They're just
Yeah.
showboating.
Yeah.
And
Oh yes.
they have marketing teams that are just out there writing things, and without any backing or really anyone that's telling them absolutely we're going to do this. So not many companies ever planned on it.
Yeah.
There are some companies that were already doing wonderful things, so
Mm,
they didn't even need to try to act like they were doing anything different. But then there were some that did start and started to do some great things right after and realized the error of their ways, and then there were others that just never even tried and
yeah.
are not going to.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the fact that, the ones who hired chief diversity officers, and then all of a sudden, all of those people started quitting 6 months later.
Wow. See,
Because
I didn't know that.
yes, there are so many companies that hire chief diversity officers, but they never gave them a budget or they never gave
Yeah.
them authority
Yeah.
to do
We saw a
anything.
lot of promotion. New vice president of this, new was black woman, black man, and we're applauding, but
Mhm.
so they weren't even given a budget. They were just given a title.
They were given a title. There are lots of people, even right now, if you were to go out on LinkedIn, you
Mm,
would go there and see people who are depressed. There was one person, and I felt so bad. It was maybe 3 months ago. I was in the airport. You know how you just kind of sitting waiting for your plane. I was
yeah.
scrolling, and this one person was just saying how depressed they were, that they
Mm.
even took the job because they thought they were going to be able to make change.
Oh
They never got
wow.
a budget. They were just asked to do the title, get the title. They
Wow.
never got a promotion. And they just said, I feel dejected because
Wow.
I thought. And he's like,
Wow.
I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. And there were so many people trying to tell this person not to quit the job.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, no, you probably, it depends on your financial situation, but at some point they're using you because you didn't get a promotion, you didn't get authority. And so you're just doing you're twiddling your thumbs, you're doing extra work for free.
That's right.
They're using you. And so that was a lot. That's a lot of what companies were doing just to save face, just to
Mm,
say we have someone in the role. And so that's what's unfortunate about what happened with George Floyd is companies did that and they're still doing it.
mm. Because at the end of the day, we don't want, basically, you're selling out. If you know good and well, you're up there just for a show and they're using you, is what is going on. They are using you. And if you have a conscience, you can't sit there and do that. I don't care how much they're paying you because you thought you were really going to make a difference.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and of course, it's a financial situation. If they're paying you something and of course you got bills, we don't know
Yes,
what anybody's doing at home. We don't know what their obligations
that's
are, so
right.
we can't say. But, at some point, you decide, you have to make your decision on what you're going to do.
Mm. Being Black in corporate America, I tell you, I've worked in corporate, and I'm trying to think. I've had quite a few Black supervisors though.
Hmm.
So, but what I've seen, some of it is some of us are against each other. Some of us are
Yeah.
like, well, I've got my promotion,
Right. Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
going to help you, or,
Yes.
ooh, I can't really help. Our
Yes.
counterparts don't care. They will promote their nephew who just got out of rehab to be
Yes.
vice president of marketing. Okay. Uh, you know, but we are afraid to even, oh, but we don't want to look like we're okay. But why are we so scared, Shantera? You have been a leader in corporate for 20 years. Why are we so scared, some of us, to help each other come up when our counterparts are not?
Yeah, and there's something in our minds, and not for me, because
Mhm.
I feel like for me there's an obligation.
Yes.
If you are in a position and you have gotten to a point where you've made it into the room, in a
Yes.
room where you're the only, because I've always been in a position where I've been the
Yeah.
only one in there that looks like me, my age, the only woman, the only Black person, my only
Yeah.
young person in the room. I'm going to always be looking for someone else to bring in with me. It's who I
Right.
am. It's what I
Right.
do. But I understand what you're saying. There's so many people that just won't do that, or they feel some type of way about doing it.
Yeah.
Um, and um, I feel like it's a responsibility be-
Yes, it
because
is.
because someone did it for you, whether someone held your resume over to the side or someone talked up to get you in that space. There's so many people that were overlooked up to this point to get you there. You're telling me in 2022 you're the first Black person that was qualified to get in the space?
Come on.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Give me a break.
That
Yeah.
means there's so many others that were overlooked to get there, which means all you have to do is go get the one resume out of the 2,500 that were overlooked
Yeah.
and just hold that door open or pull a seat up to the table and get
Hmm.
at least one more in there, and that person gets someone else and that person gets someone else, just to even the playing field.
And that's what I want. Let's talk about affirmative action, because we're not saying we want uh, to be there just because we're Black. No, we're qualified, and that's what I think it is. Oh, well, because I'm Black, we're giving it to them because they're Black. No, no, no. Someone who is Black and qualified, who
Right.
you didn't look at, and you said overlooked.
Right.
They have the same qualifications, but you're
Or
not
better.
looking at everyone with the same eyes. That's what we're talking about. We don't want a leg up.
Yeah.
Or Blacks in corporate America don't want you just promoting them because they're Black. No,
Yeah.
they are qualified and deserve the opportunity.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
sometimes they're more qualified or
Yeah.
overqualified. I was just speaking to someone who was saying that, she's had to always change her name or not put her full name on her resume just to even get the interview.
Yeah.
Because, there's always a catch, when
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
to us even getting, the interview. We always have to do something different, so
Yeah.
our race looks different. When we run the race, there's so many different things. We're running around potholes. We're jumping over certain hurdles where, as our counterparts, they're just able to run the straight shot. So
Don't put your sorority. Don't put your fraternity. They gonna look
right,
up Delta, aka Omega Psi Phi. Oh, nothing to now. If you went to a HBCU, you just, I mean, yeah, right. You can't hide that. You're not going to make up A&M when you went to
Right.
Grambling. You know what I mean? But I mean, sometimes you just, it is what it is.
It is what
But
it
yeah,
is.
I've heard that changing the name and all of that, we have to jump through sometimes loopholes,
Yeah.
all these hoops, and it's a shame.
It is.
It's a
It is.
shame.
So
It's a
no, if
shame.
we make
Yeah.
it to the table, if you're blessed to get to that table,
Help others come up.
help others in any way you possibly can, because sometimes it doesn't have to look like just giving someone a job. It can
Yeah,
look like we're just saying their name in the room,
that's right.
giving
Because
them credit for the idea.
help them build their resume. Be like,
Yeah.
look, you really could get this promotion if you
Yeah,
would
exactly, just
do
giving them
this.
the mentoring, giving them the
Yeah,
mentoring, or,
yeah,
inviting them to the networking event that usually
yeah.
they don't get
That's
invited
good.
to. Those type of coaching and
Yeah.
networking things that we don't get, because that's the one thing also is studies have shown that, a lot of minorities and African Americans don't get the same coaching that
Mm,
that our whites and Caucasian peers get to those higher levels. We don't
yeah.
get those types of coachings, and we
Mm,
don't get the networking to get in those spaces. So if you get in that space and you get invited to the partner luncheon or the partner happy hour,
yeah.
invite someone of color,
Yeah.
invite another black person.
That's
So
good.
so it changes the scheme. So no one's asking you to, if you're uncomfortable hiring them right out, at least bring them to the luncheon.
Yeah. So they can get prepared, so they can get knowledge, so they can
Yeah, allow
see
them
how
to
it is.
network themselves in then.
And they have to feel how they're going to be treated in that space.
Exactly.
They have to know you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to dress like this. You're going to
Yep,
have to look,
exactly.
because we love to talk about Russell Simmons and Jay-Z. Okay, well, they're billionaires or multimillionaire billionaires, and they in the rap game
Yeah,
clothing line. That's different. We're talking about corporate America.
yeah,
You're going to have to put on a suit and a tie. What you have to do to get in the door, do it. Right?
yeah,
Sometime with integrity and character, of course, right? But you do have to adapt,
yeah.
because they're looking at us different. Shantera, I'm sure you couldn't leave at 5. You probably left at 7, or you got in earlier than your counterparts because you knew the eye was on you more than them. They were waiting on you to mess up.
Yeah, there was always something, and the fact that I don't drink always helped me because
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, so when I went to happy hours, I've always, I was always told, I was thankful at A&M. I had some great mentors. I had some great black mentors who
Yeah,
always said, "Don't drink at the happy hours." I don't drink anyway, so it was
yeah,
always great. So I was always going there and never drank at the happy hours anyhow.
yeah,
And I would always be the one I don't party, so I'm a
yeah.
45-minute girl anyway. So I would go. I mean, even at the family parties, I'm 45 minutes in and out. So I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
go,
yeah,
so I would go to these things. I'd make my networking connections, say what I needed to do, my highs and buys, and I was gone. So no one ever could say Shantera was the one left there sloppy drunk.
that's
So
right.
there was all of those little things like that no one could ever catch me
Mm,
at those in those things. So I never got, those types of, hand slaps.
yeah.
Um,
You have
so
to be careful.
you have
You
to
have
be
to be
absolutely
careful.
have to be careful. Now they try to make it a thing because when I went to Japan,
Yeah,
I don't drink, but that's how Japanese they network through drinking. And they were
yeah.
like, she'll never make it there because the
Mm,
Japanese are never gonna love that.
yeah,
Oh, I made that work for me.
yeah.
No big deal. But it's always a catch 22.
Hmm.
They always had a reason for me having something, but you always figure it
Shantara,
out.
if it wasn't a drink, it would have been something else. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They just nitpicking the nitpick.
yeah.
But I tell you, I, you know, I'm telling you now. Here we go. Corporate America. Uh, we talked about the promotion.
Mhm.
Is it that they don't know that they're not diverse, or they don't care? What have you found when you're doing the coaching, when you come in? Is it that they really didn't know, or that they really just don't care? What are you
Um,
finding? Because if they call you, they obviously care, right? But I mean, your experience in corporate with all this diversity, inclusion talk, and all that kind of stuff. Uh, do you find that they don't know they're not diverse? Or
no,
that they don't care? Because I have worked for a company, and I'm not going to say the name, right? No, just
yeah.
um, And
No,
even though
I
I
think
asked you who it was, you were a woman, yeah. But I mean, Lily White board. The darkest person they had on the board was an Asian, and she was the attorney, or
right,
Indian, and she was the attorney. They made no type of. They were like, we're, because usually the board shows how diverse you are,
right,
right? It's a reflection. And trust me, when I worked at this company, it was no type of, they were not trying to be, and they had an African American group in the company, right? But they met like at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I can't leave. Like, why would you schedule the meeting at a time like that? Clearly, we're at work. Do you really want this brother or sister to happen? And then I heard they had some after hours events. Okay, well, good. But I don't know why you would schedule a meeting for the African American group in the middle of the day when you know we can't be there. But anyway, that's it. Anyway, just little stuff, right? But it totally was not. It was a global company,
right.
but the diversity I just clearly saw. And when I saw the board, because you look on the website and I'm like, wow, they just.
I think it's not that they don't care.
Mhm.
I think they don't care enough to
Yeah,
make it a line item in their budget.
yeah.
So that's where the question is, do they care enough to give money to it?
Mm,
And that's the question that you ask each company. How
yeah,
much do you care?
yeah.
And that's going to equal how much is in the budget.
Wow.
And you
Yeah.
find out really quickly when they start to tell you what they want to pay.
Not just scholarships that we gave money to da 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 da, but when you see partnerships with we saw Texas Southern, I believe, we see
Mhm.
corporations partnering with Texas Southern all the
Right,
time
right,
because they want to have a more diverse, workplace. Is it
right,
real or is it for show, Shantera?
right. And also, um, are they really trying to train up their people?
Yeah,
Are they really trying to train their staff? Are they really trying to ensure that their workplace is diverse
that's
and
right.
that they have an inclusive workplace?
Yeah,
What are they doing?
yeah.
Because you can say what you want, but are you actually taking action? So when
Good.
I say the line item in your budget, it's not just about what you're doing at the university level. What are
Yeah.
you doing with your staff? What are you
Mm,
doing with your people and your policies?
that's
What
true.
changes are you making?
Yeah.
What time and energy are you putting into ensuring that that workplace is an actual safe, psychologically safe space for everybody?
Should we all get off for Juneteenth and Martin Luther King? But then if you do it, now look, there's going to be a day celebrating everybody, right? Because
Right.
there's South Asian Pacific Month. There's
Yep.
so let's not just keep it black, but so
Everybody.
should African Americans get off for Martin? Every company I've worked for companies where Martin Luther King is not
Right.
recognized. But then for their culture, it's not like 4th of July, Labor Day, all of
Mhm.
that, right? But you can forget Martin Luther King Jr. But I was the only black that was there
Right.
at this firm. But I never felt uncomfortable because it was diversity there. But they just, they never
Yeah.
did it. But it was a small company and whatever. But either way, we didn't get off of that. So because it's national holiday, but your company doesn't have to recognize it. Is that taking action?
Well, it depends on yeah, companies, yeah, it's taking action if companies decide it's that you should take off for it. Some companies will allow you to use a holiday or tell you you can take off and you don't have to use a personal day for it. They give you
Okay.
these different options. So
Okay.
if they decide not to make it a holiday that they have on the calendar, to give you these different ways that you can still take off for it.
Mm,
So, that's also being as inclusive as they possibly can too. So it's like they're trying to be as flexible as they can.
yeah.
Yeah. So, if they're giving you the options,
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
letting you know that we're working on it. We're trying to do some things.
I like that action. That's what
Mhm.
we want to see, right?
You have
Now,
to be
if you
intentional.
choose to turn up all day, then what have you? That's your business. But if you get off and you really haven't done anything for the culture, get to it. I'm just saying. But
But you
but
do
that's your
whatever you
day
do.
off. But that's
It's
your
your
day
day off.
off, and you can do whatever you want to.
Right.
So no judgment, just
Right.
realness. So if they want off for whatever reason, fine. But
Right.
then you have Cinco de Mayo. Should people get off? Is that a national holiday? I don't know.
I
But
don't know if it is, but.
I don't know, but I'm just saying we have holidays for all races,
Mhm.
all cultures.
Right.
So what you do for one, though, you're gonna have to do for others.
Yeah, and you have, but that's the thing. It's so many different things, and so you
Yeah,
have to be able to reconcile that
yeah,
with your policies and your procedures, and that goes back to HR. That goes
yeah,
back to all of your health, your holiday policies, and your health and wellness and all of that stuff. So it's not just about diversity at that point. That
yeah.
you really have to go work that out.
How often should human resources look at the handbook, look at policy change? Is it every 3 months, 6 months,
It's
once
probably
a year?
it's at a minimum it's annual, but I know some companies look at it 6 months and at annually. It just kind
Okay,
of depends on how big the company is and
okay,
how many changes they've been going through.
okay.
Because if they've gone through a merger, if they've
Yeah,
had big massive growth, if they went from small numbers and they've kind of bought another company, all of those things. So it just kind of depends.
that's good. And because you should look at the policies. If you see the handbook again was written in 1952, and you see now it's a more diverse world, more
Yeah, things
diverse,
change.
but then again, some of them I think and I'm not putting them all in the Karen category, right? We're not doing that. But I think some things have been going on for so long. It's like brushing your teeth. You're not used to, some really weren't aware. They're like, well, what's the big deal? She's our secretary, or she's been in this position for whatever. It's whites run the show and the blacks are the secretary or whatever, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not what I'm saying. But they've always been on top, is what I'm saying. So sometimes when you've been up there for so long, it's hard for you to see what's under you, to see the world around you. Is it, or it's a shock to them, or they get offended, or what have you. They're like, a black vice president, who is Shantera? She's, so is it, I don't know, Shantera. Is it that they, some again, I go back to the question, is it that they don't know? Sometimes they're not aware because they've been doing it for so long, or it's been going on for so long, and now it's a wake up call for them. But some of them are just, they just don't care. But some, I believe, George Floyd woke them up. They were like, oh my gosh, I really didn't know this was.
Yeah, no, I don't think that it's a don't know, or even an unaware. I
Hmm.
think that
Okay.
I think it's just that,
They choose not to. You choose
yeah,
not to
it's a
see it.
choice.
Okay.
It's definitely a choice. It's also what's been allowed to do for so
Okay.
long, where
Okay.
no one has called it to the carpet. A certain behavior has been going on for a while, and no one's called it a spade until now.
Good.
And now it's okay. Or what are we going to do? People are now looking at the board of directors and saying everything seems to be a certain, everything looks a certain way here. Why are you guys all older white men,
Yeah.
or whatever? Or why do we only see one woman here, or no other colors, and or
Or why
people.
are there no, you have all these employees, but why are African
Yeah,
Americans, none of them are promoted?
exactly.
You
There's,
know?
people are
Yeah.
asking the questions in a different way, and people also understand too that diversity is more than race. So
Yeah.
there's these other discussions that tend to need to happen as well. So
Females. Yes, yes.
there's female, there's different backgrounds, there's a sexual orientation, there's
Hmm.
age, there's disabilities, all of the things that
Age is
people.
a big one too.
Yeah,
If
age.
you're over 65, but I've seen a company, they don't care if you have the skills, but there are a lot over 60 who are like,
So there's
how am
so
I
many
si-?
different
Because
areas.
you don't want to retire at 60. You don't want to retire
Yeah.
at 60. Maybe you lost your job, but you want to keep working. But yeah, age discrimination is a big one.
Yeah, so there's so many different parts of this that I think that people are now starting to realize, we've been focused on, and we've been so afraid of this word diversity for so long, that all of a sudden we forgot that diversity covers more than just race.
Mm,
And so now when we look at someone's board of directors, or we look at their executive board, we're only seeing white men, and then we realize we're still, even if we put in, a woman here or a white woman, we still aren't getting any diversity. We
Yeah.
need to put in different colors. We need to put in different ages. We need to put in different sexual orientations. We need to put in disabilities. We need to put in so much more
Disabilities,
to get
absolutely.
a real diverse
Veterans, our
we need
veterans.
veteran status, all things. There's so
Be-
many things
because when
to
they
make
ask
it
that question, Shantera, are you a veteran? In a way, they're really trying. Some companies are like, oh, you have PTSD. They're discriminated against.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
so when you
they're trying
see
to
that,
figure out how much training they would have to give you to get you into, the corporate mindset out of the military mindset, all of those different things that
yeah,
they're thinking in the back of their mind. So, yeah, I think that there's just a lot of training that leaders are so intent on thinking that they have to train their staff that
hmm,
they don't go to the training. No, you need to be sitting right there next to them. If not, you need more than them a lot of
asking your employees how are things going. Not just, I know we have a lot of work to do, but is there an open door policy where they can talk about things with you? And are you going to listen? And like you said, Shantera, take action.
Yeah, but also, the open door policy doesn't really work if your culture sucks because no one's going to
Ah.
walk through that open door if they don't feel comfortable talking to you in the first place.
Yeah. And sometimes we've seen, I mean, like I said, I worked at a company, the wrong person was running the show. And when I was laid off, I was like, it was a blessing because I could tell the spirit was definitely. The first question this individual asked me because they were new to the department, whatever. First question they asked me um, was, I'm from this area. Do you know where that is? And right when she asked me that, I knew she thought that I was just some dumb, black woman, because of course I've heard of this country.
Yeah.
Why would, so I could tell and then like, I could tell I was going to get laid off anyway, because like she wasn't, when she gave me assignments, if there was one assignment, I guess I didn't do it right. And then just, she didn't think much of me, wouldn't give me work like she would give. So I know my time was up and I was good with it. Like human resources was like, we've never seen anyone this happy about. I said, oh, I'm not happy, I'm good. What's the severance and what we doing? Because like this demon here, y'all got a demonic spirit in here. And I'm talking about not just for black folk, white folks, she gonna be there for. So people, I'm just saying, good evening, Thecia Jenkins. How are you? Our emotional intelligence, Shantera, she's been on here talking about emotional intelligence. But I'm serious, but I was thankful. And I was like, okay, what's my severance? Because like basically it's fine, because what I've dealt with in these past couple weeks with this person, if this is a blessing, I'm getting laid off. Yeah.
Right.
So, but when you say, well, I'm from someone, do you know where that is? I'm like, oh, so you don't think I could already tell. I could already tell Shantera this was somebody who didn't think much of me. And I was fine with that. I was absolutely fine. And anyway, we moving on. But Shantera, this is my other question for you. And, you know, we, how do African Americans, though, maneuver in corporate America when they are dealing? You have an African American right now who has to pay bills, and they are dealing with the slash tires. They're working at a law firm, and they graduated from Harvard too, and they're not getting any important cases. They're making the six figures, living in a condo. That's fine, but they don't feel right about it. Or maybe they've been at a company so long and they see they're being passed over, but they stay there anyway. And they want to create change, Shantera, but there may be some fear.
Right.
How do they maneuver in corporate if their company does not seem to embrace diversity? Do they go to human resources? If human resources does nothing, what do they do?
If you're working in a company that doesn't seem to embrace
Mm-hmm.
diversity, you have a couple of decisions that you
Yeah.
have to make.
And look,
Hmm.
Shantera is not giving you advice, the views and blah, 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 with the disclaimer, right? But
Oh,
she's giving
definitely
you
not.
her opinion as someone who has walked there. What do you say to someone? Has anyone ever come up to you and say, Shantera, I am struggling in corporate?
Yep.
So what do you tell them? Let's work it like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And this is exactly what I say. You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
One, are you saying that you want to stay? Are
Mm-hmm.
you asking me because you want to stay, or are you trying to decide should you leave? Because if you're saying should I leave, if you're asking me should you leave, I'm going to say you need to make that decision with your family because it's probably a financial decision. There's probably some other just other parts to this that I'm not going to be privy to it. I'm not going to be comfortable giving you advice on whether or
Yeah,
not you
yeah,
should take
yeah.
the job. But if you're talking about how do you maneuver staying in a company
Hmm.
where things are just, man, crazy, and I'm here in this company and I don't really know what I should do next, because it doesn't look like they are embracing me as an African
Yes.
American and or diverse, any other diverse thoughts or diversity at all. I would say you got to be careful how you maneuver, because it's
Yeah.
hard as an African American or minority at all in companies like that, because one is exhausting. I know what that feels like.
Mentally, I
It's
can only
mentally
imagine
exhausting.
mentally, spiritually, emotionally what that does when they slash your tires. When because your car is too nice, or when or our clients will never work with you because you're black.
Yeah.
Mentally. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And
Wow.
so you're trying to figure out what's my next step. What am I going to
Yes.
do, right? And so for you, you already know you have zero sense of belonging. You don't belong here.
Yes.
You
Oh
you already
wow.
feel isolated. And so
Yes.
the question is, okay, what is it that I need to do then? How do I get anywhere here? What
Yeah.
are my plays? Who do I have any allies or anyone in this company that I can kind of work with, that I can gain any skills that could
Yeah.
be useful to me maybe in the next year, 6 months to a year,
Yeah.
however much longer I feel like I can be here.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, how I can buy my time, and who is it that I need to kind of connect myself to that can give me, some kind of, some kind of a skill that I know that I can walk out of here and say, okay, I learned this much from this person.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, is kind of hitch my wagon to
Yeah. Yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
And maybe,
Yeah.
before I knew it, that person kind of carried me along and worked with me on
Yeah.
something. And, maybe that would just be something. Who could be my guy? Who could be my coach? Who could be a mentor? So maybe finding someone, and it may not be a Black person, because you may not have another Black person there
There
with
have
you.
been white people who have helped me. There
Yeah.
have been, and people with our own skin sometimes won't help us. And we talked about that too, why
Oh,
some of us
yeah.
feel like, but so
But,
look,
and
yeah,
you may be in a situation where there aren't any.
yeah, that's right, where there aren't any. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, because I've worked in many places where there just wasn't another person that looks like me.
yeah,
So you have
yeah,
to find someone that doesn't, that really genuinely that you do enjoy working with,
yeah.
and you just kind of build up a good working relationship with. You don't have to be best friends with anyone that
That's
you
right.
work with, but
Yeah,
you can have a good working relationship.
that's right. No, girl, we're not gonna go to the Cheesecake Factory for lunch.
Yeah, but
Look,
but but
yeah,
we can
I'll
sit
see
here
you
at
at the.
this lunch room and
I'll
learn some
see you
stuff.
in the break room for some coffee, but some of that you got to watch that too. Theseus says, "Wow, hard to believe regarding the tire situation."
Hmm.
I tell you, and Thesia also says, "Yes." I mean, it's true. Now, Shantera, this is a question I have for you, and I've been waiting to ask you this question.
Uh-oh.
And Black people, listen up. When I put this on YouTube, or those who are listening, what have you, it doesn't matter. I have to ask this question. We want corporate America to be diverse, but as African Americans, should we be diverse? Are we diverse? Are we diverse in our companies and businesses like we want corporate to be? When everybody who works for us is Black, and we like, well, corporate is okay, but if we look around, are we? See, because can we say, Shantera, well, we Black and we got to help each other. We're Black and we're going to help each other.
Hmm.
But corporate, do we all have an obligation to bring diversity to our work? Because just think about it. It's something to think about. Are we
Yeah.
giving the same are we being diverse in our companies as we want corporate America to be?
Well, I mean,
It's a question.
it's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one, if we're going to call them out publicly and do the whole thing, we got to be careful, because yes, they got, people can call us
Is
to the
your
carpet.
company diverse,
Yeah,
sister and brother?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People can call us to the carpet, just like,
Yeah.
you call them. And I would say, just like we were talking about, where diversity covers the gamut, right,
Hmm.
of different things, you know, make sure that we are understanding that diversity does cover so many different things. There's diversity of thought, there's diversity, there's the mental and physical diversity, there is veteran status and
Yeah.
socioeconomic status, all of these different things. So you may have a diverse company, if you start to think about all of the different ways that you can cover diversity.
Yeah.
And just ensure that when you are asking these other companies, that make sure that they don't have a diverse company as well.
Yeah.
Some of these companies just don't, and
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
is what it is. But and for us, we also need to know that it's okay for us to stand in the fact that we want to be a minority run company. And
Yes.
that's fine as well, because we are trying to give opportunity to our own first
That's
and
right.
foremost.
Yeah.
But we also know that it's very difficult for us to say that we're going to only work with just Black people all the time, because it's very hard to find all
Yeah.
Black vendors for everything.
And look, let me
So,
say this. If I have two candidates who are a white person who I need to hire for a secretary, Black person, both, if that white person is more qualified, who do you go with? You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
we can't ask corporate to do things we're not willing to do,
exactly.
is what I'm saying. Because look, I'm not
Oh,
gonna hire you
absolutely.
just because you're Black. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. There's help. We gonna help each other come up, but you still, again, qualifications,
Yeah.
right?
Because
So
you
so
have a
I
business to run, and
we
you have
have a
to make
business
sure
to
that
run.
you're getting, if you
Yeah.
want to give quality to your clients, you have to have quality people that's working with
Yeah.
you.
And
So,
if you and look, if you live in Texas, people, the Latino community, if you don't speak Spanish, you better have somebody on your team who does.
that
You
part.
know, and that's just the world we live in, especially if you live in Texas. Like, I mean, what you look at products, it's in English and Spanish, right? So if you can't speak Spanish and you need that bilingual, person, and they're not African American, so we have to make those decisions too. Now, yes, we want to help our people, but again, I just think that's an interesting question, and I love how God just brings these questions to me, right? He does, because I was like, can we add, or let's look ourselves in the mirror.
Hmm.
Did we not hire her because she's white, and then
Yep.
we crying to corporate? You an
Right.
employee newer, and you got, I'm just, and then you wanted diverse at your workplace, but then you're not diverse as an employee newer. That's all I'm saying. Let's just look at that. That's all I'm saying. But do you ever get fearful? Like, you really are very vocal, verbal. Are you ever worried you're not going to get clients because you are just really honest? But they bring you in because you're honest, right?
Yeah, I absolutely am fearful.
Oh, really?
uh,
But you're
uh,
saying it, you're speaking boldly. And then when I share these clips on YouTube, I mean,
no, no, no.
but you share it yourself. You're very
Yeah,
honest.
but I think that the reason why my clients work with me is because I am open about sharing my experience.
That's good.
I don't force my clients to um, share anything that they're not comfortable with sharing. I
That's
will
right.
share all things about me and let them know that I am okay with being vulnerable, and then
Yes.
let them get comfortable and get there in their own time.
Yeah.
And I
But
think that's what my clients like,
but
because I'm not
Shantera,
pushing them, and I'm not pointing at them and making them, feel bad. I'm telling them about my experience, and that it's
that's good.
real and that it happens.
That's good. And also, if you follow Shantera, and she'll give us her information later, she's not spewing hate, right? That's not what she's doing. She's just giving a wake up call that maybe you need a more diverse workplace. Let me tell you what I have dealt with.
Right.
You're having problems. I can tell you what I wish I would have had.
Mhm.
Right. So I like that. You're not making, people feel like, let's clean this up. Thank you for bringing me in. Now we can do something about it.
Right.
So I think that's what I like about with your approach, because we have to give truth, Shantera. But at the end of the day, you're not spewing hate because
Mhm.
nobody wants that. But I just ask, like, when you're talking about companies, are you worried, like, oh my gosh, or if you, or should we post about George Floyd? Things like that on our page. Some people are afraid to lose business.
Yeah, but if you're saying thing again, when you're speaking about your truth and your experience, and that's
Yeah.
why I even tell people, even in my sessions, use I statements.
Yes,
Speak
absolutely.
your truth, not they, them, she said, yesterday
Yeah,
they
yeah,
said.
yeah.
No, talk about you. And if you
That's right.
don't have anything genuine about you, don't
Yeah,
say it.
yeah. And I think that's what you have to do. Theseus says, Shantera Chatman is consistently professional and authentic.
Aw.
Professional is the key word, right?
Thank you, Thesia.
And Thesia doesn't say that about anybody. Yeah. So seriously, you're making a difference, right? But I love that you're not spewing hate. At the end of the day, we're kind of healing. Let's heal. Let's bring people together. But you gotta tell that truth though, Shantera, because sometimes it does hurt. I'm sure it stings them a little
Mm-hmm.
to hear that, right? To hear
Yep.
what? I'm being racist. I didn't know, or I didn't see it, or I didn't do anything about it. But Shantera's here to give you a wake up call.
But
And
then
that's
I'm
what
bringing
we're
you back.
doing.
I'm
God
bringing you
bless
back.
God bless you, Franco. Thank you, brother Franco, for being on here. Yeah, so he says loving this conversation, Shantera. So the thing is, Shantera, I find that's now posting on social media. Let's get back to that. Something happens, law enforcement has abused their power, what have you. I post with purpose, and if I'm standing on truth, I feel good about it. If you don't want to do business with me, because then it is what it is. But what do you say? It's not professional. Post it on your personal business, or leave it alone. I mean, what?
About
Because hold on, let's talk about this, because we talked about social media. Some people are just putting on a show and they not in the march,
right.
right? So I would rather that person not post but be at the march or be giving to the cause, because there's a lot of people hashtagging but they haven't given a dime,
Right.
right? So again, sometimes, Shantera, it's putting on a show, but have they really getting involved in the cause? So, but what do you tell people when African Americans say, well, gosh, I really want to post this, but what do you say to them?
I say, if you really want to post something,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're posting because you want to, and not because you feel like you should because everybody else is doing it.
That's right. That's right.
And that you're okay with it. You're okay with what you're saying, and that your job is okay with what you're saying. Don't
That's
get
right.
fired.
Yeah.
Don't get fired for something, because companies are out there checking all things now.
But that's my business, my personal page. But the truth is, they watching.
Yeah, your business is everybody's business now.
So and if you want to be promoted to vice president, you may have to, but then give a few thousand, then you
Because
still,
companies tell you now, they tell you now that they're looking. So,
which is an it's a tactic, right?
so
It's a tactic to try to intimidate, right?
well, I mean, they're just letting you know that it's there. So,
Yeah. Now look, we're not talking about twerking. We're
yeah,
talking
right,
about this is clearly wrong. You
right.
should be able to say that. But the truth is,
Oh
Shantera,
yes, you should be able to say it.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But Shantera is just telling you,
Yeah, and
don't.
for me, like when things are, if something's out, and I'm a little different, because social media for me, I use it as a tool. I
Oh,
use it.
absolutely.
I decide, what's going. If does it make sense for me to even post? I'm not someone that posts my life on social media. I
Absolutely.
don't need to tell people I'm going to the grocery store. I don't
That's
need to
right.
tell people what. I don't need to ask people what color shoes I need to wear tomorrow.
Thank you.
And the people who do, fine. You have the time. I don't.
Absolutely.
And I don't really care if you not like my shoes today.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
It doesn't matter.
But I typically, my once I have my, my cadence for posting my videos about, culture and diversity and inclusion and stuff on LinkedIn. And I post my, all of my quotes and different things. So I have my things that I post.
Yeah.
I just kind of have the things that are related, that are important to me.
Yeah.
And if there are some things that I feel like I need to align with kind of the platform and the things that I do,
Yes.
that may be on the news, then I align it.
That's what I was just about to say. If it makes sense for your brand and what
Mhm.
you're doing, absolutely say it. But don't be posting to be popular, whatever, because it will come back to bite you people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I find, because there are things I've posted before, and somebody criticized me, but I really didn't care, and I almost didn't post it because I was fearful.
Mm.
And I never post out of fear, or I don't not post because I'm worried somebody's always gonna have something to say.
Someone's always going to have something to say.
And lo and behold, somebody criticized, and I was like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because this is truth. This is blessing someone. And Shantera, people are who they are. Now we're in a place where people think they have the right to weigh in. If you don't like my post or somebody, then keep scrolling.
It was It's so interesting. People feel like they can just say it was I was actually posting about something that happened to me.
Okay.
I'd given it was like a little story, very much like what I was telling the story of what happened with my tires, but it was something else.
Yeah.
And I said people of color, and I
Yeah.
just put it in there, and it was so crazy. It was a black man that
Mm,
responded to me and said, "Why didn't you just say black people?" And he just like and he just kind of went in on me on
mm,
LinkedIn about using people of color instead of black people. And I
mm.
responded to him and said, if it was a room full of black people, I would have said black people. But since it wasn't, I said people of color because I was there. You
Yeah.
were not, sir. Thank you.
Isn't it? And is this LinkedIn, the LinkedIn crowd, they kind of getting out there too.
And I was
It
like,
used to be,
dude.
I don't know what LinkedIn, it used to be professional. And I'm like, but see, it's rearing its ugly head.
And I was thinking, you were not even there. Why are you correcting my story about my life from
Now I
five
can see
years
on the
ago?
Facebook crowd, but LinkedIn's coming at you like that.
I was like, I actually I used it correctly because I was there. You
Honey,
were not. It was so crazy.
people are always, Theseus says hello and a long get to work.
Yeah, I was like,
Who cares? But you
"You're
know
crazy."
what? People are coming from a place of, you don't know what people are going through
Yeah,
and why that meant so much to him.
yeah,
That you said, you know what I mean? So we do have to, speaking in emotional intelligence,
yeah,
empathy, look at from whatever reason it meant something to him that you say black. You know what I mean? So so we have to look at it from both perspectives, but still keep scrolling. Or
yeah.
send that in a DM. Let's not go through. We ain't doing that
It
here.
was crazy.
And I love that now we can delete foolish comments or
I
comments that
did.
are,
I deleted it.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
boy,
But let's not call him foolish. For whatever reason, that meant something to him that you said that. And we don't know what he's been through. That he's like, So, yeah, yeah. But still, I just keep scrolling. If I don't agree with it, I keep it moving. Shantera, as we end this, darling,
yes, ma'am.
because you have to go out and fight the good fight. Give me any final words on corporate America, our culture, um, discrimination in the work. Any advice or any wisdom tips you want to give to any? What do you want to say on this subject? And then give us your favorite scripture verse
Ah,
that helps keep you strong and your contact information.
okay. I would say, just kind of to wrap up the conversation that we were having for anyone that's still in corporate America that's struggling with all of it, don't feel like you have to fix it
Ah, wow.
because it's not the responsibility of marginalized people to fix the culture on your own. You have a job to do.
Mm,
And I always feel bad when companies go to their black people, their people
mm,
of color, and ask them to run diversity program for them and do it for free along
mm.
with their jobs. Don't feel like that's your responsibility, especially when the company is floundering. I would say
If you cared, you would put money into the budget for
exactly,
this.
exactly. Give me a
But yeah,
bonus or
give
something.
me a bonus and then give me some money so I can run this
Right.
department. So
And
yeah,
so if there's something that you want to
yeah,
advocate for, and tell them, hey, bring in
that's
someone
right.
to help, bring in a keynote speaker, bring it, let's do a book club or something. And don't volunteer to plan it unless you absolutely want to, unless
That's
you feel
right.
like you have the time. So I just want to just say that to anyone who's in corporate America who's, still trying to make their way through it and trying to figure
Yeah.
out what's next.
But let's
Um,
go back to what you said, and I'll add on to that, even
mhm.
though I said your final comments. I
Oh
just
no,
said,
go ahead.
if God calls you though to make some, you better get in there and be obedient. And it's not going to be easy, but also, as Shantera pointed out earlier, bring someone up with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Bring someone up with you, but be careful. Don't get caught up in a gossip session with somebody and it turn into, use your spirit of wisdom and discernment.
Yep,
People,
absolutely.
let me read Franco's comment. Shantera, Franco says corporate social responsibility is in paper but hardly practiced, and we talked about that earlier. Franco, taking action, we can see if you really care, if you're taking action. He says we can find a balance between profits and doing good social business.
Absolutely.
What do you say to that, Shantera?
Absolutely.
That's good. Thank you, Franco.
Yeah, that's really good because it is it's on paper, and sometimes they and that's good advice that you can find that balance
Hmm.
if they really would actually sit down and try.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
takes effort and being intentional. I use that word so much with clients and even in a lot of my videos. Being intentional about doing something,
Yes.
taking some time and a little bit of energy. All you need is use that brain that you're always saying that we're always saying we're so smart, right? Be intentional, use your brain, you'll
That's
figure
right.
something out. You can figure it out.
Yeah. But see, we can't lose steam either. We
Mm-mm.
can't say, well, they haven't mentioned it. Okay, but when are you going to
Yep.
knock on the door and say, hey, don't wait.
Yep.
Sitting back waiting. Do you really want it? Is all
Right.
I'm saying. But people who are called by God, they're going to go for the gusto, right?
Yep.
And then like you still are making a difference. You still are making a difference because your company is giving a wake up call and healing. Really, if we look at it, it's healing and making them think of some things. Because maybe because of you, Shantera, they're looking at Black candidates different. They're not overlooking them anymore. And
I
even if
hope
they're
so.
not admitting it to you, maybe to themselves, when they look at candidates, they're going to say, you know what, I have not. I haven't looked at Black candidates because of their name or because of the HBCU college.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is it can really do more than just a diversity workshop, right? A
Right.
workshop with a good lunch, and you know what I'm saying. Some of
Oh
this
yeah.
stuff is fluff, but this is important. But yeah, go ahead, give us your was
My
that all for
scripture,
the advice?
yeah, that was it. That was the
Okay.
advice.
Favorite scripture verse and your contact information.
Okay. The scripture, Philippians 4:6.
Oh
And
yeah.
and so this is one that's been with me for the past, I would say about the past month. I've been kind of on this one because I tend to be a worrywart, and I am working on trying not to be that. And so God has been on me. And this is from the New Living Translation.
Oh, I
Don't
love
worry,
New Living Translation. Yeah.
don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything.
Tell him what you need
Tell him
and
what you
thank him for
need
what
and
he's done.
thank
And
him
the
for what he's
peace
done.
and the peace that surpasses all understanding will
There it
be in our
is.
hearts and minds. That's one of my weapons. Why you think I have it on my card? My weapons, the word of God. That's Philippians 4:6. And we want to see, sometimes I worry because I want to be in control. And I want God to get in the
Ooh,
back seat and let me drive this car.
see,
No, no, no.
and
Sit
I
down
hope,
somewhere.
see, if my husband listening to this, he gonna say that that's her.
Oh, that's you, Shantera. God can't put both of us in a car together because we be like, God, we got it. See, because aren't you? I'm telling you, we worry but because we're like, hurry up, hurry up. We're ready to go. We're ready to get. But God is like, I got this. Let me drive the car. You worrying and for me, it's worry because I want to be in control sometimes,
Mhm.
and I will miss that. I admit that.
Yep,
Sometimes I'm like, okay, look, God, let's go to the next, and He's like, no, I need us to slow down because we need to take this exit because I
exactly.
have a lesson for you to get. So Shantera, yeah, your husband, we might be related, Shantera. Yeah.
I don't think the world can take both of us at the same time all the time.
Oh wow! Hey, pray about everything, worry about nothing. Tell
Right.
him that isn't that a
That's
beautiful
it.
scripture?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it right
Give us
there.
your contact information, Shantera.
Contact information. So definitely if website powherconsulting.com, POWHER consulting.com. My email address, Shantera at powherconsulting.com. But if someone was looking for me on LinkedIn, that's going and finding me at Shantera Chatman, but Shantera Chatman on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And then you just flip it, Chatman Shantera at Twitter.
I tell you, she's everywhere. You'll see her with a fabulous picture, loving the blue suit. She means business. She's bringing us. Yeah, she's doing it in her calling. Brothers and sisters, the Dr. Don Radio Show. No judgment, just realness. Here on Raise the Praise 100, Shantera Chatman. Thank you, darling. God
Thank
bless you. God
you.
bless your husband. Don't you have a son? Do you have kids?
No, I do
Okay.
not. I have I had two. I had stepkids. They're out of the house, and I got two
Okay.
brothers. My
It was
two
your
brothers.
it was your bonus kid. Well, tell everybody the Dr.
You
Don
met my
show
brothers though.
said hello. So God bless you. Keep doing what you do, man. What's next for you? You think?
Oh well, I have my retreat. I have my retreat for Black female executives.
Isn't it? Wait a minute. I thought thought you already had that,
I
or
had it
you
last
promote
year.
early. It's later this year.
I had last year. When I talked to you, I was having my first one. I have one in September. I got my second one coming up in September.
Okay, now where is it this year?
It's in Scottsdale again this year, Scottsdale, Arizona.
I thought it was out of the country.
No,
Kim
not yet.
Williams from with Metro. Was
She
she
was there
last or
last
this one?
year. She was at last year's.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Kim's dope. I love Kim.
Oh, she's
Kim,
amazing.
Kim, honey, that's my soror too, and she's just awesome, awesome person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shantera, darling, I could talk to you all day long. I haven't seen Shantera. See, Shantera and I go way, way back.
Way back. Way back.
Way back. And I'm going to keep it at that. But the
Yeah.
people who start with you, some of them not going to be with you in the finish line. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm telling you, you don't have to see people every day to know it's real love. That's all I'm saying, people. Right. Some of my guests, I don't see you all every day, maybe. But still, it's all love. And to see God just, Shantera, when we started, but it's good to see that everybody's just walking in the calling and we're all still on the path of purpose. So God bless you, girl. Keep making a difference.
Thank you. You too. You too. I love this. I love this.
Don't we love it? Last time you were on the phone, we had to get you on the video, sister. And I tell you, this is such good conversation. I'm so excited. That's how I know I love these shows, because I just love when God speaks to me, because when I'm in the car driving and I'm excited about that's how I know it's going to be good conversation. I like to be excited. I know the audience they got to be fed. We got to feed them.
Yep.
We got to feed them. But Shantera fed y'all today. You got an appetizer, main course, and you got a dessert, and you got a doggy bag to go. Shantera Chatman, God bless you, girl. Have a good one.
You.
And don't be a stranger. You will not be a stranger. I'm sure we'll have you back.
I will come back whenever you call.
Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? No, I'm kidding. Shantera, we can talk all. See, when you know people, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to let them go. But we got a show to do, y'all. But Shantera, God bless you, girl, and keep making a difference.
All right. Thank you.